this gospel of the kingdom shall be spread. Oh, would you are called according to his will. DCKM, Dana Carson, Kingdom Ministries.
Welcome to the Kingdom Voice broadcast with Dr. Dana Carson. Today's message is coming from the powerful series, The School of Kingdom Relationships. In today's message, Dr. Carson talks about the wedding planner.
You have to think differently about your relationship. If you think about you're about to start a startup, you're about to have an entrepreneurial endeavor, that the two are about to become one, and you have the mandate to be fruitful, multiply, subdue. That means to create and expand, bring out some output. Then you think differently about marriage. See, most people, when they're thinking about marriage, they're thinking about loneliness and horniness. So they're thinking about, I have all these sexual needs, and the Bible speaks against fornication, so the way to get rid of that is to get married. Or they think about, I'm tired of being by myself, riding in my car by myself, getting my own gas. Or if it's a man saying, I'm tired of going home and ain't got nobody there with me to cook and da-da-da-da, nobody to hold me, nobody to fold me, whatever, And so those are the motivations that a lot of people are motivated to get married with. It has nothing to do with the character. It has nothing to do with the quality. It has nothing to do with the vision of life. But now, when it comes to marriage and a relationship, you see this between Jacob, the covenant between Jacob, or the contract between Jacob and Laban, and Rachel and Leah. Then this is a startup. I'm going to recall this a startup. And see, the goal for a startup is to raise money for the startup. And you need money to be able to finance your business. You've got to be able to cover fixed and variable cost. So fixed costs are things that are going to go on regardless of what you do or produce or don't produce. So it's like things like rent, mortgage, etc. Variable costs are things that fluctuate, and it's based upon certain things. So when it comes to you saying, I want to get married, I want to have a relationship, we need to have, the first conversation we need to have is spiritual, and then the second conversation we need to have is financial. And now, here is one of the challenges. You're going in business and you know nothing about numbers. And that's going to be a problem. Finance or financial troubles are listed as one of the top reasons for divorce. Now, if you're financially illiterate, then you already know your business is going to suffer great damages. Now, it's important that you have to discuss things like housing, furniture, transportation, variable cost of expenses, which would include utilities, insurance, health insurance, college funds, etc. What is this going to look like for us? Because we're going to do it. And you know what doing it is, right? Okay. So, we're going to have intercourse. We're going to make love, have sex. Okay. So, and we know that the end goal of a sexual experience is a baby. Okay. It's an orgasm, okay, that makes a baby. So however you want to look at it. So in that climax is a potential baby. And so at some point, if a woman is in ovulation, and there's a baby, but you are in the safety of a marriage. You got a committed father, and you got a committed mother, and so we know that there is a high probability that the longer we're together, we're going to create an offspring. So then we have to talk about financial planning. See, if you take time to ask yourself about the person you're about to compromise and go to the altar with, just ask him, look at him or look at her and say, is this the person I want on the other side of me with my baby, telling them what to do? Now, because see, you get out of them ghetto ways of trying to like, this is my child. So you get out of them ghetto ways. Because we have all them ghetto ways, then we mess the kids up because we snatch them from the other parent. And that's both of y'all. That ain't just you. That's two people in there. Now, you should have thought about how lame he or she was before you got married. Don't be taking it out on the baby that you let horniness and loneliness win over common sense. And now you don't want the baby to see the daddy. You don't want the baby to see the mama. Wait, hold on. Where you get this from? No, that's my child. Did you make that child by yourself? Did you go up in the bathroom and come out pregnant? So what do you mean that's your child? Well, no, it's my child. It came out of me. Well, he put her in there. Now, see, so the question really is on the front end, because I understand you saying, okay, I got you. But he the one. He here now. Well, the point is, you've got to be more careful in your selections. And when you allow yourself to allow physicality or physical activity to go ahead of spiritual investigation, financial investigation, intellectual and emotional investigation, then you're going to be trapped because sex becomes like an addiction because it has an orgasm. And who doesn't like an orgasm? Kids find out in self-exploration early. If you're like me, you have boys with tissue all around their bed, as they were growing up, I mean, it's part of self-exploration. Once people realize, hey, so sex can be addictive. Sex can be addictive. It's a good feeling. It's like a high. It's like crack cocaine. It's like marijuana. And then after a while, you can't feel normal without it. And the addiction makes you marry. Not love. Not a good business decision. But sex. And then you get married and you figure out. See, remember, Jacob or Yaakov, he wasn't getting none until 7 years. Seven years. And then when he got it, it was Leah. But he got it. No matter how unattractive she was, he did that thing. And he didn't complain till the day after. Now, I know they didn't have electricity back in those times. But I'm saying, the brother, the Bible, I know he should have been able to figure there was something. You know, maybe it was that wine they gave him at that banquet. But so now, so then you've got to talk about, if you're going to get married and you're going to have some, you got to talk about operating expenses, the cost of running the business, your gas, your food, your clothes, your vacation, etc. So you need a phase one budget need for housing. See, Laban and Yaakov, they were talking business the whole time. You know, how this thing, you know, it's not right for me to have you work for free. And he said, well, listen, you can stay here and work 7 years. Yaakov said, well, I want Rachel. He says, okay, well, move in with me, and or da-da-da-da. And this is the business term. So one of the things that I suggest for couples is that before you, and if you are already married, that you really construct a business model where you ask yourself, how are we going to generate the monies for all of the phases of our life? Like, we want to have kids, okay? How we going to, what's the cost of kids? Like, I hear people, they have kids like they're gremlins. Children are expensive. You need to understand, China tried to tell you, they put a ban because it's draining their economy because they don't have enough wealth to be able to take care of all of that population. You know, you can't just run around and just have children like they're gremlins. Beanie Babies, they're not Beanie Babies. These bad boys cost. And it's a myth that after 18, you don't have to pay for them. After 18, they become a luxury expense. They're more expensive then. Don't you let nobody lie to you. So, you need to have a business model. And even if you're married now, you need to step back and we need to say, okay, here's our life, phase one, phase two, phase three. How are we going to structure our business model so that we make sure that as we go from phase to phase to phase, that we're not fighting and experiencing the stress of financial lack? Well, so I tell I mentioned last week, it's quiet in here. I mentioned last week, hello. Listen, I mentioned last week, you know, you got to understand, how's your model going to make money? See, you have husband and wives, they're struggling and they're under stress and they're not doing well together because they don't have the financial means to take care of their life, because they don't have a model, nor did they have a business. They didn't think about the business idea and opportunity. They didn't think about what it was that was going to make them better as a couple that they would be as singles. And so they didn't think about the opportunity of innovation that would bring another level of comfort as a couple rather than a single. What was it and why is it that you think you could be happier with another person than you can be by yourself? Now, you have to really think through that, because, see, unfortunately, a lot of people, they don't think about it until they're already in it, and then they realize I was happier by myself than I was with somebody else. But now you're married, and it ain't that simple, and you can't be saying that stuff. Now, so like, For those, some of you that are talking about getting married, you need to think about a business model like low-cost weddings that generate profit. So you're going to get married. Let your marriage be profitable to the business. Don't deplete all of your resources trying to make a grand appearance before people, and you spend all of that money that you're going to need to run the business, and it's all gone for pomp and circumstance. And so you're thinking about dresses and bridesmaids. Y'all not going to like me now. Bridesmaids and groomsmen and cakes and photographers. And you're thinking about all this money that once that one day is over, you're going to go back to an empty apartment wondering what's the next step financially. So, you need to think about, I'm going to get married. First of all, I want a low-cost wedding, which means I want to get married in a place that don't cost much, and I want to be able to wear the best outfit I already have in my closet. Okay? So now I'm not saying, no, okay? I'm just going to say it, okay? I'm going to air it out. I understand that whole romantic thing you have, but just hear me out a moment. Because, see, this text was about money all the way through. That's what it was all about. It was about business. Now, well, no. I'm going to have this, and we're going to have this song sang. And, do you know how many songs been sang, how many dresses been bought, how many tucks have been rented, and 2 years later, the marriage was dissolved? See, we're majoring on the wrong thing. So I'm trying to tell you and show you from a biblical perspective how to flip that script. Now, so just imagine you're going to get married and you're going to do a low-cost wedding that generates profits. So then you're going to start a housing investment fund for your family and friends. Since a community, we're coming together as one. We want you not to bring us punch bowls and not to this. What we want you to do is give us this cash in our housing investment fund to help us get a new house. Now, help us. And listen, you ain't trying to get no mansion. That's going to stress you out. Understand, it's a starter home. That's all you want is a starter home. Well, I want this. See, that's the problem. You overextend yourself financially, and then both of y'all are working like hell trying to pay them bills. And when you get home, ain't nobody got nothing for each other. And you just like, this is crap. So your mama and your daddy, like for instance, I'm like Laban. Whoever married my daughters, I got 2 daughters. Whoever they need to know their father ain't paying for the wedding. You didn't know that. Traditionally, well, tell me ain't nothing traditional about your daddy. Ain't nothing traditional about your daddy. Laban made money. He made money because he was giving his asset away, his daughter. His daughter was his helper. Now, you ought to be a helper, not a heifer. You ought to be a helpful daughter. Not the kind of daughter that's just a drain. Well, then them kind, you pay somebody to take them. Will you marry her? Please marry her. Please, I give you $10,000. Just marry her. When y'all move far from here, go as far as go. I'll buy y'all the airplane tickets too. I'll throw that in. Now, so you have a housing investment. Then what about a profit-making reception. So it's a low-cost wedding. You got people sewing into your housing, and you want to have a banquet, but it's going to be tickets. Everybody going to pay $35, $50 for the ticket, you know, and you don't have all these freeloaders taking all your money, and then the other folk are upset because they didn't get invited to the reception, so they don't speak to you next week. Because they expect you to have a reception and pay all y'all little, you just getting married, pay all that money to feed them. I'm just saying. What about changing that paradigm? See, that's not what I'm talking about is the way Laban wedding planned. He's like, oh no, if you're going to get her, you got another 7 years. Now, then what about online crowdfunding account? For all your friends that can't come, they can give you an investment seed in your startup. Don't send me no cards. Don't send me no flowers. Put it all in the online crowd fund. Okay. Hey, listen. You guys, I'm sorry. I have a Duke MBA. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This stuff just makes too much sense to me. Because then you get married, you have these weddings, and you living like you're royalty. Everybody coming in here with all this pomp and circumstance, and then you go and run into an apartment. Somebody got to help us. I believe that a house will better serve your relationship than an apartment will. I believe that a house will serve your financial future more than an apartment will. I believe you begin with an equity investment, not a liability investment. Because every payment that you pay for that year lease or what have you, and we understand where many of us are, that's what we have to do. But I'm saying we do what we have to do, but we also must understand there is a better way. And so we got to get exposed to a better way. Some of us may be in that deep pit of financial bondage right now, but we got to get out. I'm trying to tell you, it ain't never happy living with nobody with no money. It's not, I don't care. You just pick a fight with each other. So, because you mad you ain't got no money. We want to go to a movie. You ain't got none, I ain't got none. I want to look at a movie. Can we order it online now, the cable out? Just be mad. Okay, so your wedding should produce your housing, which is critical for the smooth operation of the marital business. In the betrothal process, the husband prepares a place for the bride. The husband pays a dowry for the bride. That's what was happening in the culture of Laban and Yaakov or Jacob. And it's important that you understand that. That's a bad sign when a man doesn't have the ability to pay a dowry. It doesn't mean that he's a good-for-nothing man. It doesn't mean that he is not a good man, but it means that he is not a ready man. And say, anytime a man is ready to take you on as a relational liability partner, because you're both going to have to share those liabilities, and he doesn't have the funding to really take care, because women like stuff. That's just the nature of a woman. You know, women like to spend. They like nice gifts. They like things. That's the nature of a woman. And that's just her. We don't want to put you down because we broke. You just want too much. Well, you just never give me nothing. You know, so it's not that I want too much. I ain't never got nothing from you. You know, so, you know, if you just give me one thing, maybe, you know. So, but the deal is then he feels pressure because he doesn't have the finances. And see, it's just like what you experience with a lot of brothers in school. One of the things that I saw in undergraduate school is that a lot of men would not finish their degrees when they were into women, and the women would finish their degrees, but the men wouldn't. And so you then creating a disequilibrium in financial equality among the men and the women, because statistically speaking, the higher the education, the higher the pay, unless you are an entrepreneur and you're doing some high-end things. But it's important that a man has the ability to have a focused life. He needs to remain focused and produce what is necessary before he approaches you and before you entertain the approach. So now, where are you getting all this, Dr. Carson? Well, I'm getting it from the Bible. What do you mean you get the Bible say that? Okay. Before God gave Eve to Adam, Adam had a job and a house. Okay, now God could have given that both to them at the same time, but God chose to put Adam over that garden to guard and to tend it. So he had housing, which was the Garden of Eden. He had a job, which was to tend and to keep. And then after he became proficient in doing his job, and then God says, it's not good for him to be alone, but I don't want to just give him somebody to distract him. See, some women are distractors. They want you to provide, but they're going to distract you from working. You got to work again? What you want? What you want? So he gives Eve to Adam, who has a house and a job, and she is an Ezar. She's a helper. She's a helpmate. So, and she's one comparable to him. So now Adam has a helper who's comparable to him, and they don't have stress because Eve's needs are met. Now, Eve's problem is, like women can tend to be sometimes, she wants too much. So the serpent says, you can be like God. You ain't got to have what you're. Now, Adam was taking good care of that woman. She didn't need nothing. But she was like, well, more. And so she ate of the fruit. But here is the deal. We see that God gives this man a house and a job before he gives him a woman. This is where a lot of it messes up. And I've seen this, and I've experienced this as an African-American man myself. When I was younger, I saw my success through the lens of a successful black woman. I wanted to marry a successful black woman, a strong, successful black woman, because then I believed if I married a strong, successful black woman, she would be the backbone for me, and because of her, I could make it. Now, that's a weak male position, but I used to have it. I was born in the inner cities, but that was my thing. Marry a successful black woman then you'll have success. But I hadn't thought about how I personally was going to be successful or lay out my life to such a magnitude that I could bring success as a man myself. Hadn't thought about it. Now, many of us are like that, but that's not how God set it up. Brothers got to take time to be focused, get your stuff together before you bring a woman up in something, and then she's going to want something and you ain't got it to give her. And she's going to become discontented and start talking to serpents. It's quiet tonight. So, think about it. Then, when Adam fell, he lost his job and his crib. When he fell, he lost it all, man, over that relationship. And Eve lost her protection and her provisions in the garden. Now here they are, and listen to what God says to them. He says, now you're going to work because you need a job, but you're going to earn by the sweat of your brow, which means work is intended to be difficult for a man. A man has to be able to handle hard work. We saw what happened when work was easy for a man. He sold it all for a bite. Now, so God tells him as his consequence, you will now eat from the sweat of your brow. You're going to work, and you're going to work hard now because I gave it to you easy, but you couldn't appreciate it. And then he says to the woman, and you're going to bear children, and it's going to hurt. So God says then, the work of marriage that's meant to be difficult is a man working and a woman raising children. This is going to be a painful reality to you. A man providing and a woman raising children. Now, if you want to get married and you're a man, you got to want to work. You can't be like, I ain't a morning person. What? What? What you mean you're not a morning person? You don't have employment, you getting up at 11 o'clock. What is wrong with you? Now, you got to work hard. That is the consequence and the result of the fall, and that's the obligation of a husband. If my wife says to me, I'm not going to help you anymore, I'm tired, I can't take no more, emotionally I'm strung out, I can't say get out. You ain't going to help get out. Because we're not roommates. I'm responsible for my home as a husband and a man. And if you don't want that responsibility, you don't get married. Now, that's what I'm saying. You ain't got to get married, but you ain't supposed to be tapping it either. You know what tapping it is? You make a baby, you're supposed to help pay for that baby. You had no business dropping that seed. Any place you drop that seed, drop that check. Ain't no woman supposed to be sitting around waiting till something come in. She's supposed to be able to cyclically expect support for the raising and the provisions of your child. What are brothers supposed to do? Become more celibate. Zip it up. So a lot of you brothers, before you can even become someone's husband financially, you go into the marriage and all your money tied up. Okay, y'all don't want to talk to me. Y'all don't want to talk to me now. I don't know what to do. All I know is to tell the truth. You need to understand. Oh, help me, Holy Ghost. I got to get. Let me. I got to get out of here. Listen, you need to understand that if you're going to get the respect that a man needs, not desires, you're going to have to position yourself in the role of a man. Now, you ain't got your stuff together. Get it together. You can get it together. You just need focus. You need and some discipline and some prayer and some prioritizations and God being number one. You know, stop looking at women and getting erections and you're not a set man yet. She fine. So what she fine? And you gonna mess her up and you ain't no man. Then after you get finished doing her, and then y'all unhappy because you didn't strengthen yourself in the word, financially, intellectually, emotionally. Y'all don't like me now. You're going to mess her up. Because she's going to be dissatisfied. You know why you have so many dissatisfied women? Because you have so many unprepared men. Man. Listen, it's going to be like that all week. The business of relationship. Marriage is a business. And if you don't know that it's a business, then ask those who went through a divorce. Because once they went through a divorce, they had to get attorneys and they had to deal with the different laws pertaining to the state of divorce that they lived in. Some places like Texas is a community property state, and you have to divide the property up. It's a business. And so therefore, before you enter into any business arrangement, you need to understand your business partner. And this week, we're going to be talking all about the business of marriage. Dr. Carson, why are you going to be talking about the business of marriage this week? Come on now. It's coming up to Valentine's Day. And so, you know, there's love in the air. And so these teachings, I believe, will really, really bless your life. And I think you need to order them in their entirety, as well as my book, Kingdom Marriage, Trouble in the Flesh. I believe every single person ought to have this book and read this book. You don't want to get married before you understand what marriage is about. People look at this title and they say, oh, that's for married folk. Or it's for folk that are open to being married one day, and folk that just say, I want to understand marriage, because sometimes you have to relate to married people. So as you relate to married people, then you need to understand a little bit more about marriage. So this week, we're going to have a fantastic job and talking about the business of marriage. And also, we're going to be offering a tremendous discount on this relationship pack. And this relationship pack will bless you. This relationship pack. Now, let me tell you what's in this. It's the Kingdom Family, why relationships aren't working, Kingdom Relationships, the Kingdom in the Home. Man, these study guides will bless your life. So don't forget to support the broadcast. We need your support. You can give according to what's on the screen. So help us continue to do what it is that we do. Whatever you do, don't do nothing. Sow something. If you're blessed by the ministry, the Bible says, let he that is taught the word share all good things with him who teaches the word. God is not mocked, be not deceived. Whatsoever man sow, that shall he also reap. If you help me to stay on the air, God will bless your life because you're being a blessing to other people. What you make happen for others, God in turn will make happen to you. Father, I thank you now for the listeners. I pray now that this message will find them well. And God, where they need healing, where they need blessing, where they need needs met, God, I pray that you would do that and keep them safe, well and whole. In Jesus' name, amen. Well, listen, until next time, shalom. Hi, beloved. This is Dr. Dana Carson, affectionately known as the Kingdom Voice. You know, I work very, very hard to fulfill the purpose of God on my life and the church's life. And we take this gospel of the kingdom around the world. We're touching lives all over. We're touching lives globally. And I want you to partner with me so that we can do that in a more effective manner. And also that fruit may abound to your account. Every time I preach the gospel, that means that you're there preaching it with me because you're providing the necessary support that allows me to reach nations and people all over the world. I need your support. I want you to partner with me. If you click the link, it'll tell you a little bit more about our partners ministry. But will you partner with me? I want you to be able to say, I partner with Dana Carson Kingdom Ministry, and we take the gospel of the kingdom around the world. Thank you. God bless.